Breaking news has just rocked the financial and political landscape. President Donald Trump has officially signed into law a sweeping Social Security reform that promises a staggering $5,203 increase for SSI and SSDI beneficiaries in 2025. This unprecedented move has sent shockwaves through households across America, igniting conversations about what this really means for retirees, disabled citizens, and anyone relying on the safety net of Social Security. The announcement came amid a press conference that seemed carefully staged for maximum impact, with Trump standing before an audience of senior citizens, veterans, and working-class families, underscoring that his administration is delivering the biggest Social Security increase in U.S. history. The sheer size of the adjustment has left both supporters and critics scrambling to understand the real implications. Will this transform the lives of millions or trigger an economic storm? For many struggling to make ends meet on fixed incomes, the number alone, $5,203, is enough to spark hope, but experts are already raising eyebrows over whether the program can sustain such a bold leap without consequences down the road. The backdrop to this legislation is critical to grasp. For years, beneficiaries of Supplemental Security Income SSI and Social Security Disability Insurance SSDI have battled inflation, skyrocketing healthcare costs, and the crushing weight of rent and groceries that seem to climb higher each month. While past administrations have tinkered with cost of living adjustments COLAs, none have dared to champion such a dramatic increase. Trump, seizing on a potent political opportunity, has positioned this bill not just as financial relief, but as a rallying cry for his 2025 agenda, a promise to put America's forgotten citizens first. This narrative plays directly into his populist brand, framing himself as the champion who delivers what no other president has had the courage to attempt. Still, the $5,203 figure is more than a number. It represents months of tense negotiation, fiery debates in Congress, and a last-minute deal that even insiders weren't sure would survive. The timing is no accident either. With the nation divided and economic anxiety running high, Trump's move injects a dramatic twist into the unfolding story of America's future. But here's where the clickbait-worthy twist comes in. The increase doesn't just apply in a broad, vague way. Reports suggest that beneficiaries could start seeing checks with the boost as early as spring 2025. A timeline that has fueled both excitement and skepticism. Could the Social Security Administration handle such a massive rollout without glitches? Critics warn that the sudden surge could overwhelm an already overburdened system, leading to delays, errors, or even fraud. Meanwhile, financial analysts are sounding the alarm about inflationary pressures. If millions suddenly have thousands more dollars flowing into their pockets, what happens to prices in a market already strained by supply chain issues and global instability? Trump's allies counter these fears by insisting the measure is fully funded through reallocation of federal spending, with assurances that no new taxes will hit working Americans. Whether those assurances hold up under scrutiny, however, remains one of the most burning questions. This law is also a political grenade tossed into the 2025 election cycle. Trump's opponents are accusing him of reckless pandering, calling the move unsustainable and warning of dire consequences for the Social Security Trust Fund. They argue that promising a $5,203 bump is a short-term sugar rush with long-term consequences that could bankrupt the system faster than anticipated. On the other side, Trump's base sees this as proof of his ability to get things done, where other politicians only talk. Social media is already ablaze with videos of seniors reacting emotionally to the news, thanking the president for easing their financial struggles, while pundits on cable news networks debate whether this move is visionary or catastrophic. One thing is clear. The legislation has shifted the conversation, making Social Security not just a policy issue, but a headline-grabbing centerpiece of America's political drama. What does this mean for you, the everyday American? For those on SSI or SSDI, it could mean the difference between living paycheck to paycheck and finally breathing a little easier. Imagine being able to cover rent without sacrificing groceries, or affording necessary medications without relying on credit cards. The emotional weight of this law cannot be overstated. It taps into the raw, daily struggles of millions who have long felt invisible. Yet the broader picture is more complicated. Economists caution that while individuals may celebrate, the ripple effects on the national budget, interest rates, and even international markets could be seismic. Foreign investors, watching closely, are asking if this signals a bold new chapter in U.S. fiscal policy or a reckless gamble that could destabilize the dollar. Trump himself seems unfazed by the criticism, declaring in his signature style that America's seniors deserve the best, and I'm giving them the best. In the end, this law is not just about numbers on a check, it's about power, politics, and the soul of America's social safety net. Trump has once again mastered the art of dominating headlines, leaving both his supporters and detractors caught in the whirlwind of his decisions. Whether this $5,203 increase becomes a historic lifeline or a ticking financial time bomb is a question that will define not just 2025, but potentially the future of Social Security itself. And as the story unfolds, one thing is certain: the drama has only just begun. The story of Trump's $5,203 SSI and SSDI increase doesn't end with the celebratory signing ceremony. It's only just beginning. In the days following the announcement, the nation finds itself split between euphoria and apprehension. Beneficiaries, some of whom have struggled for decades with stagnant payments, flooded online forums and community groups with messages of relief, sharing plans to finally catch up on overdue bills, replace broken appliances, or even afford long-postponed medical treatments. For many, this sudden financial uplift feels like a miracle. Yet behind the curtain of joy, lawmakers and financial watchdogs are sharpening their knives, questioning whether this monumental adjustment is truly sustainable. Could this be the biggest bait and switch in American history, or will it go down as the boldest economic reform of the decade? In Washington, the political fallout is immediate. Democrats accuse Trump of hijacking Social Security for political theater, arguing that the program's trust fund, which has long been predicted to face insolvency within the next decade, may now collapse even faster under the strain of such a dramatic increase. They demand details on how the law will be funded, pressing for evidence of Trump's claim that no new taxes will be required. Republicans, on the other hand, rally behind their leader, painting the legislation as a masterstroke that will cement his legacy as the president who gave power back to the people. The Senate floor becomes a battleground of fiery speeches, each side accusing the other of either selling out America's seniors or sabotaging their future. The clash is so intense that cable news networks run split-screen coverage of dueling press conferences, each loaded with sound bites designed to dominate the evening headlines. Economists, meanwhile, are issuing dire warnings. Some analysts claim the $5,203 increase could trigger a wave of inflation worse than anything seen in decades, especially if millions of households suddenly begin spending on cars, vacations, or higher-priced goods. Others argue that the boost might stimulate the economy in positive ways, lifting consumer confidence and increasing demand in sectors still recovering from the pandemic and global recessions. The stock market reacts unpredictably. Healthcare stocks surge as investors anticipate seniors having more disposable income for prescriptions and services, while banks wobble amid fears of rising interest rates to curb inflation. The financial press begins calling it the Trump bump, a phrase that encapsulates both hope and anxiety in equal measure. On the ground, ordinary Americans are left grappling with practical questions. Will the payments arrive smoothly, or will bureaucratic red tape create delays? Reports start surfacing of long hold times at Social Security offices, with panicked beneficiaries seeking clarity. Misinformation floods social media, with some claiming checks will bounce, others insisting the increase only applies to certain states, and conspiracy theories suggesting the entire law is a setup for future cuts. The Social Security Administration issues statements trying to calm the public, assuring them that implementation is underway and payments will roll out as scheduled. Yet uncertainty remains, feeding into the clickbait frenzy of online headlines and YouTube channels eager to cash in on the drama. Trump, never one to shy away from spectacle, doubles down. He launches a nationwide tour, visiting swing states where seniors and disabled Americans make up a sizable voting bloc. At each rally, he holds up oversized checks displaying the $5,203 increase, drawing roaring applause from the crowds. This is what leadership looks like, he declares, framing the law as proof that he delivers tangible results while critics only talk. The theatrics send his base into a frenzy, but also galvanize his opposition, who now see the legislation as a central issue for the upcoming election. The law becomes more than a financial adjustment. It's a litmus test for the future of American politics, forcing every candidate to take a stance on whether they would preserve, expand, or repeal it. Behind the scenes, whispers of a looming constitutional showdown emerge. Some legal experts question whether the executive branch overstepped its authority in structuring the funding mechanism, hinting that lawsuits could eventually land the case before the Supreme Court. If the courts strike down parts of the law, millions could be left in limbo, uncertain whether to rely on their boosted payments. This legal shadow adds another layer of tension, keeping the public glued to updates like a high-stakes thriller. The sense of suspense grows, with each new headline fueling speculation. Will the law survive? Will the money really arrive? Or is the country headed for a financial cliff masked as a gift? For now, what remains undeniable is that Trump has once again shifted the national conversation in a way few politicians can. With one stroke of the pen, he has inserted himself into the daily lives of millions of Americans, promising relief but potentially unleashing chaos. Families who once felt ignored are suddenly at the center of a national debate, their hopes and fears amplified by a law that could either transform or devastate the Social Security system. And as America waits for the first wave of payments to hit bank accounts, the suspense only deepens. Will history remember this as Trump's greatest triumph or his most dangerous gamble? The answer is coming, and the entire nation is holding its breath.